Now do some problems relating to this infinite line charge distribution. This is the formula I will be using. Suppose we take such a configuration that this rho L by twice pi epsilon 0 turns out to be 10 volt, because left hand side represents the potential difference, so left hand side will be some volt x or y or z. Right hand side, this quantity is dimensionless, so rho L by twice epsilon 0 will basically turn out to be the potential difference between these 2 points situated at R1 and at reference point R2. Now if we take for example rho L by twice pi epsilon 0 equal to 10 volt, and if I put this 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per coulomb square, this is a standard value. Using these two values, I can easily find out that this charge density, linear charge density, will turn out to be rho L equal to 556 picocoulomb per meter, whereas picocoulomb equal to 10 to the power minus 12 centimeter. Now we need to construct some equipotential surfaces, that is some equipotential or maybe lines, more precise, to be precise. I want to construct some equipotential contours or some lines, and each two consecutive lines are separated by just 5 volt. Then I would like to find out the radial distances at which those equipotential contours can be drawn, which means I would like to find out this R1 and R2 in this expression. We have this value rho L equal to 2 pi by epsilon 0, that is 10 volt. And I also take for example that these two reference points are separated. The potential difference between these 2 points, one is a reference point, other is a field point. These 2 points are 5 volt, that is constant. So using this formula I can easily find out R2 and R1. Now I have to make a choice for R2 because R2 is my reference point where the voltage is to be 0. In case of line charge distribution, we cannot take infinity as our reference point, that is a point with a 0 potential. Other than infinity, we can take any point. So as we have the freedom that we can take any point as our reference frame, that is the a point which has a 0 potential, so I will be choosing R2 equal to 16.5 centimeter. The situation is like that. I have two equipotential lines separated by a constant voltage of 5 volt. Now I would like to find R1 because I have already mentioned what is R2. At R2, that is at reference point, the potential is equal to 0. So from this calculation, I can easily find out that this R1 turns out to be 10 centimeters. So I have this situation. I have this line charge distribution. This line charge is denoted by this red line. And the field is radially outward because the potential rise must be opposite to the field. So if we place a plus Q charge here, the electric field will be outward, and this at 16.5 centimeter I will have the reference point. So at every point on this circumference, the potential is 0. Similarly, at 10 centimeter, the potential will be 5 volt but constant. At every point on this contour, which is at a distance of 10 centimeter from this plus Q charge, which is responsible for this electric field, this potential is of constant value. So this is an equipotential surface. This is another equipotential surface. Let us draw some other equipotential surfaces for this charge. I should write this as a rho L. I can't write this as Q because it is a line charge, so I must have written rho L, the line charge density. So now I would like to find out the different points which are closer to this line charge distribution, because I already know the successive difference between the constant potential contour lines. Suppose here is my line charge distribution. This is my reference point R2 where the potential is 0. R2 is kept at 16.5 centimeter. The next constant potential contour will be at R1 equal to 10 centimeter. Now if I use this formula for to find out the radius of the next constant potential line, then I need to use again this relation. Now I know that the successive potential difference is 5-fold. So the potential difference between this point and the reference point will be 10 volt. So VR1 minus VR2 must be equal to 10 volt. Rho L by twice epsilon 0 is already taken to be 10 volt. R2 is fixed, which is equal to 16.5. Now I need to calculate R1. So I have put all the values here. From this I have to calculate R1. This 10 and 10 cancel out. I am getting 1. This is natural logarithm. So this is log of e to the base e. So if we want to get rid of this logarithm, I need to have exponential on the left hand side. Right hand side I have just the fraction. This is the ratio 16.5 and R1. And by solving this, exponential of 1 is equal to 2.7. You can calculate this in your digital calculator, and from this I can easily calculate R1 equal to 6.1 centimeter. So the point is, what I would like to emphasize is, if I want to have a constant potential contour where the potential value is constant at 10 volt, then the distance of that contour must be 6.1 centimeter from this line charge. Similarly, for closer values of this R1, the potential successively increases. That means electric field is outward, potential is increasing leftwards. For example, at 2.22 centimeter, the potential is 20 volt. Now what if this line charge distribution is surrounded by metallic cylinders? For example, suppose I have this line charge distribution. First, I would like to make I have to make a choice of my reference point. So from the previous problem, I have shown that reference point is at R2 equal to 16.5 centimeter, where potential is equal to 0. So here I have put a metallic cylinder surrounding this charge distribution at 16.5 centimeter from the line, and this is this is grounded, because if I make it ground, this outer cylinder ground, then I can make the potential of the cylinder ground. It's a metallic cylinder though, so I can make potential equal to 0 at this point by making it grounded, and this is actually practically achieved. And inside, suppose at 2.22 centimeter, I have already found that the potential is 20 volt. Now it is a good approximation that thickness of this cylinder, actually these cylinders have some finite thickness, but generally for practical purpose, these thicknesses, especially the thickness of this inner cylinder, is taken to be very small, so that this cylinder can be considered as a line charge distribution itself on the first place. So this is actually done in case of coaxial lines. Now suppose at the center the potential is 20,000 volt instead of 20 volt. Then what will be the line charge density? Now if I have a line charge density rho L and I have a potential difference of 20 volt, and if the potential difference is 20,000 volt, that means 1000 times higher than this 20 volt value, then the line charge density must be 1000 times bigger. Otherwise, it will not be able to produce such a huge amount of potential difference. So I can, from this formula, I can calculate the new charge density on the line, because at the center we have a potential of 20,000 volt. My new charge distribution, charge density is rho L nu. This remains the same because distances are not changing. The voltage is changing. Hence, obviously the charge is changing. That's why the voltage is changing. So I need to find out rho L nu, and I have, if you do just, it's a simple algebra. And from the simple algebra, you can easily find out that the new charge density will be 556 nanocoulomb per meter, which is 1000 times bigger than the older charge density, which was 556 picocoulomb, because picocoulomb is 10 to the power minus 12 coulomb, whereas nanocoulomb is 10 to the power minus 9 coulomb. Let us consider a particular type of charge distribution. Suppose I have a plus charge and a minus charge. First, when I have a plus charge, then the electric field lines will be going outward because it's a positive charge. And if it's a negative charge, all the field lines will be going inward because of the presence of this negative charge. Now, these are the field lines presented in the black ink. And the lines, these spherical lines, the circular lines, these are the equipotential surfaces. And this is the picture of the equipotential surface and field lines for this negative charge. And in between them, the equipotential surfaces are like this. The field lines will be, as this is a plus charge and it is a negative charge, so field lines will be carved. Field lines will be carved. But if this is a plus charge and this is a minus charge, or if these two charges are negative, then the field lines will diverge because they have to repel each other. Now, what if I have a Van de Graaff type of generator? What will be the field lines? What will be the intensity of the field? Suppose this is a very basic circuit of Van de Graaff generator. The circuit is a little bit complex, but the idea is very much simple. I have a metal surface here, a metal ball-like structure here, spherical structure here. I have a pulley here, and these two are connected, and here this belt is energized with some amount of potential difference at the base. Of course, this generator is grounded, which is extremely necessary. There is a motor which I have not shown here. This motor will actually help in running this pulley, because through this belt the charges generated here will be shifted upwards, and with the help of this brush the charges will be shifted to the metal contour, to the surface of the metal. We know all the charges resided on the surface of the metal, and these surfaces with the help of the brush, the charges in this belt, in this pulley, will be conveyed to the, or will be transported to this metal surface with the help of the brush. This is the same type of concept what when I comb my hair, then the charge between comb and hair, and when I take the comb nearby some papers, by some pieces of paper, the papers will get attracted to the comb. The basic mechanism is the same, but in case of comb and hair and in case of comb and the pieces of paper, the electric field is very much small. the potential difference is very much small because the amount of charge generated is very much small, but here the amount of charge involved is very large, hence the potential difference is also very large. Now suppose I have this Van de Graaff generator. This is the metal surface, this metal surface which I have drawn here. Now if the charges are placed here, all the charges are plus, and if the generator is like that, I mean with no barrier, with no metal surface nearby to this metallic conductor, then the field lines will just go away. And if we place a metallic plate, now metal has free electrons, and because of the plus charges, these free electrons will eventually gets attracted to this metal of the Van de Graaff generator, and this metal will be negatively charged. This is the method of induction. Field lines will be like that, going from positive to the negative. But if I place a metal plate which has a shape of this kink, then the electric field lines will be curved when this kink is approached. So here at this kink, the intensity of the electric field is quite weak, but if it is inverted like this, the electric field is very much intense at the kink. I should have drawn lots of electric field lines here, but then I will not be able to show you the kink, inverted kink. That's why I have not drawn the field lines, but electric field intensity will be very much higher here. So the electric field lines will be very much closer to each other. The density of the field lines will be extremely high here. And that is the same case when we place a metal wedge nearby a Van de Graaff generator. Then at the sharp point, sharp edge of the wedge, metal wedge, the electric field is very much intense. When I have a collection of charges, an infinite amount of charges, so far we have discussed about discrete charges, charges which we can separate. So if these are continuous charge distribution along a line, so when we are to calculate the potential for point charge, the potential formula was V equal to Q by 4 pi epsilon 0 R, and in place of Q, we need to substitute this for line charge, this for surface charge, this for volume charge, because as this is a continuous charge distribution, we cannot use summation, we have to use integration. Now actually there is nothing like continuous charge distribution. If I have a line and so many charges are there, so that we can consider it a line charge distribution. But if we zoom into it, we can see actually the charges are discrete. This is just like water flow. When water flow, we consider that as a continuous flow, but we know that water molecules, they are completely discrete with each other. And in case of this continuous charge distributions, charge distributions which are regarded as continuous, so the potential difference or potential at a point can be calculated like this. We have to use then this one or this one as the case may be, then 4 pi epsilon 0, and the distance is there. This is the modulus of the distance between source and the field points. Now this is a relation between the potential difference and the electric field. This I used while I was calculating the potential for discrete charge for a point charge. There I used this relation to find out this formula. You can check that. Negative sign is there because potential always increases opposite to the direction of the electric field. Now here, if we reverse, we can have a recipe to find out the electric field from this potential difference, if we can just reverse this thing. Because in practical problems, we do not know what is the electric field, we do not know what is the charge distribution. What we can measure is the potential difference. So if we can invert this relation, then from measuring the potential difference I can easily calculate the electric field, and I can also make an estimation of the charge distribution too. In order to do so, we need another operator which is called gradient or del operator. Now suppose I am moving in one dimension. I'm moving along this line. Now electric field is increasing along this direction. These two directions are parallel to each other. They are opposite. We can say anti-parallel. But if we move a distance of delta x, the potential difference can be easily written like minus E dot delta x, and therefore we can write E equal to minus del V del x, and in the limiting case we can write this as E equal to minus dV dx. Now here, by measuring the potential difference I can calculate the electric field E, but here I need to introduce a new operator, gradient operator, which will operate on this potential and will allow me to give an estimation of this electric field.